Hello, art people. As you guys know, in the previous video, we discussed ways to protect our shares. And what I did in that video, I broke that down into two categories. One is knowledge, gaining information. And the second one is taking action. And this is my lessons learned. So I'm just sharing with you what I learned. And so please do your research and due diligence. It's never financial advice. Um, the thing is that knowledge is so crucial. In my opinion, it makes more than 90% of becoming better retail investor. Okay, and there's a reason for that. Maybe I'll show you in this video later on. This video, it is if you want to be, as an example, if you want to be an engineer, what do? You apply to university, you study, you get your diploma, and then you apply as an engineer, and that's how you become an engineer. If you wanna be a doctor, you have to get education. Yeah, same thing. If you wanna be a lawyer, same thing. There is almost nothing you can do without having formal education. If you want to be in the financial institution world, what do? You have to get a formal education as well. If you apply to one of these big financial institutions, they're not going to accept you without formal education in the field. So it is common sense to think that way, right? Same thing. If you ask the same question as to what education you need to become retail investor, the answer is nothing. In fact, it's almost good not to have any information as far as the market, because you are, in my opinion, you are the bread and butter of the market. So, the less information, the better. The more information, you become semi uh, uh, institution, because you have a lot of information. So, with that in mind, let me emphasize it in a different way. If I ask 10 viewers, do you think a car would move without tires? What do you think the answer would be? Of course not. Of course not. And it would actually be silly question too. Yeah, of course silly. It is intended to be silly, but let me get to my point with that. If I ask the same 10 viewers, uh, can you tell me why NIO was down yesterday when the entire market was green? And keep in mind that we are in the fourth quarter. This is the best quarter ever for NIO, and that in this quarter NIO will be breaking even. That's the objective, and NIO is doing the best of the best of the best. And excuse me, go ahead and explain to me why NIO was basically not only uh, pushed down, but actually aggressively, like by forcibly was pushed down. Can you, if I ask 10 people, chances are, logic, we're talking logic here, right? Chances are we'll get 10 different answers. You may have more, you may have a couple same answers, hey, shorting, naked shorting, or whatever. It could be something, right? But you're going to have 10 answers. These answers are not the same as the answer on as far as the car. Why the car, or some of the, would not be the same. What is the difference? Why, in the case of the car, we would have all the exact same answer, and in the case of the stock down, we just have different answers? Knowledge. That's what it is. It is common knowledge to everyone that the car, of course, would not move without tires, and it is. While in the case of the stock being down, it is speculation. We don't know. To clarify this with you or make it more interesting, do you think if we ask one of the money maker or the market makers, one of the big financial institution guys, do you know why NEU was down? Especially those who are heavily involved in NEU. Do you know why it was down yesterday? I can tell you that, in my opinion, they know exactly why it was down. The ones who are forcing the stock to go down, they know. They know the answer because they are the ones who are creating the situation. So of course, logic says they know. So what is the difference then between us and them? They know, we don't know. That's the difference. Knowledge. That's where we are so thrilled to move on and not listen to anything about knowledge. Knowledge seems to be a problem. We don't want to get knowledge. We just like to fall into the problems, and then we learn from our own mistakes. It's not easy to learn from someone else's mistake. Maybe, I don't know, but it doesn't matter. The end of the day, I believe that's the case. It is all about knowledge, and also that not only that, but when you have 10 different answers on a topic, then the logic says that there could be one right answer. There actually could be none of them could be right, right? The fact that you have 10 different answers, we're not talking about the ones that could be the same, but 10 different answers, you can have only one right answer or none. If you have one right answer, that means 9 out of 10 were wrong. That means the ones who answered this, 90% of the viewers, if we assume that 10 viewers are representation of the whole population of the viewers, then which is a small percentage. I know I'm just being, I'm just giving you a simplified way as to the importance of knowledge. Common knowledge, in one case, it's so obvious to everybody, but in the case of the stock, we just don't have the same knowledge. And this is why this is what I'm trying to do, is trying to close that gap, where if we ask the same question, say 6 months from now, we would have 6, 7 out of 10 to have the same answer. And they all say, oh, it's so obvious, it's because of this. And that's what I hope to get out of this, and hope that we are on the same page with that information. Okay. And a good case is in the previous video we had very interesting comment. The comment was, when do we think that NEO, as far as stock, the return on investment would basically we get the most out of it? When do you think we can get that? And the answer is, well, in my opinion, would be 10 to 20 years. See, a lot of people might think that, hey, NEO will maximize its value maybe in few months or a year or 2 years or something like that. In my mind, no. NEO probably will take more than 10 years to slow down on its growth. My answer generated all kinds of criticism that 10 to 20 years doesn't make any sense. And we went into arguments and things like this. In fact, my answer was based on knowledge, while the other answers were probably based on opinion. And if we get to a point where we have the same knowledge, we probably wouldn't have that. We would be happy to have common answer. How did we come to the 10 to 20 years that NEO would grow into that, would become mature, or the return on investment would basically start to flatten out? It is mainly because of first of all, the business model for NEO is unbelievable. There is really nothing in the market that would match it, but especially the battery swap. And when I mentioned battery swap, internationally, and it was like not really taken very well. It is. If you look on the international scale, of course, in China you have the most battery swap stations, but even on the international scale, NEO is already in something like 10 countries, like 10 countries, and will expand more into 20 countries. It could be 30 countries in the next year or 2 years. We're not talking 10 years. We're just talking about a year or two. So many countries getting into the battery swap. How many years do you think it would take to have the battery swap? Basically, you have the alternative to gas stations in battery swap, but not to the same level, because you don't need that many, right? And plus you have alternative charging. You can charge at home, you can charge on the road as well. So the number of battery swap stations would be, we could be studied. Actually, I did make some calculations, was it last year, as to what the numbers would be, given the battery swap would have, or battery swap stations would have maximum efficiency. And if you have 50% efficiency, you would have some different numbers. So there is a way, I actually did the calculation last year, and talked to you in a video about that. So my point is that if you start thinking that all of these patents that NEO has would be implemented worldwide, then we understand NEO's model. And these battery swap stations are quite complicated. They started with Gen 1, and it was basically burden on the grid. And now with Gen 4, where you have solar charging as well, you can save money by using the solar system to charge these batteries, and it's becoming more and more sophisticated. So maybe in the future it would be entirely built on solar system. It would be a solar battery swap station where you can have it anywhere, and it would sell to the grid, and it would be used in the Himalayas or whatever, anywhere in the world, without having to have power at all. That's what we're talking about. Okay, so with that, of course, and NEO would benefit, because NEO has all these patents, over 1,600 patents only around the battery swap. So it is based on knowledge. Bringing back to the point, based on knowledge. My answer was based on knowledge, and the other answers and the rejections were based on, well, we don't think so. It doesn't make any sense. It's kind of like whatever. Actually, one of the reasons why we suffer so much as retail investors with NEO is because of this business model. It's so humongous. It is so humongous that it would take such a huge time to mature and flatten out. While in the case of others, that's not the case at all. Okay, so anyways, I thought to share this with you. This is part 2, and as you can see now, I'm not looking for 26 or 27 to have the maximum stock price for NEO. I'm looking at 5, 10 years, 20, more than 10 years. To me, NEO is one of the companies that you can pass on. Somebody suggested that would be we would be dead before. Okay, fine, yeah, of course, but there could be this, that could be the case tomorrow. We have no control on that. The other point I'd like to make, maybe final point I would like to make, is there is a proverb that says, give your dough to the baker even if he takes half of the bread. Why would they do that? Because of knowledge and because of experience. You would be better off having half of your dough, half of your bread, if it's done with experience, with knowledge, than to have done it yourself with no experience, no knowledge, right? And there's more value to that. That is the power of knowledge. Okay? And same thing, the power of information. And last time I emphasized so much on getting proper information and streamlining the information. Streamline the information. There's nothing wrong with that. Actually, it's a must. Companies streamline their processes. They even have diagrams on that. They call them spaghetti diagrams. Check maybe on Google and see some of these things, right? The spaghetti diagram, because if you need to move something around, you would see in if you follow a part from start to finish, you would see a spaghetti like shape, right? And that is a waste of time. You're going around. Same thing in your case. Just look at if you do a diagram on where you're getting information, how you're moving around and going in circles or whatever, it makes a big difference if you start streamlining your process, because you can maximize the information, the good information that you can get. All right. Anyways, never financial advice. Thank you. Bye-bye.